Sunrise and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com. We're remembering the queen of rock and roll this morning. Tina Turner dies at the age of 83. And it's official, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has entered the race for president, announcing his campaign yesterday on Twitter. And in Calhoun County, several storage units damaged in a fire at Alamo Beach Storage in Port Lavaca. We have this story and more coming up. You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain. Today is the 25th day of May 2023. The time is now 6:31 on your Thursday morning, and today it's National Tap Dance Day. I actually got to see some tap dancing last week at a ballet recital. It was really impressive. So let's go ahead and go to Mac for a look at that forecast.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are, headed off into a long holiday weekend. It's going to be Memorial Day pretty soon. And around Texas, we have this little frontal system right here that has a little drier air behind it. And of course, we're in all the humidity. And we've been talking for the past, couple of weeks. The dry line is where the big thunderstorms pop during the afternoon because of the instability and the heating and the lifting there. And then they travel to the east. And so we are watching another day when they start out there and then roll to the southeast, which was basically in our area. Generally speaking, they all stay out there and fall apart once the sun goes down, but every now and then you gotta track them carefully because they might get away from us. For those of you in Cuero, you're looking at a morning low of 70, getting up to about 88 this afternoon. And then we take a look at our extended outlook as we get into Memorial Day. Just a slight 20% of a possibility, otherwise sunny and warm, and all the way through Memorial Day with temperatures hovering around 90 degrees. We also have a QR code we want you to scan. If you do that with your phone, you can have CrossroadsToday.com on your phone, and we'll be able to send you messages on anything like news, weather, and sports. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mac. Now to the tributes pouring in for Tina Turner. The music legend passed away yesterday at the age of 83. Overnight, some of the biggest names in music, sports, and television honored the queen of rock and roll.
What's love got to do? Got to do with it.
Tina Turner was an icon.
You're simply the best.
Born Anna Mae Bullock when she was only 17, she began performing with Ike Turner under the name Little Ann. Ike would give her the name Tina, and the two would begin a marriage that would last over 15 years.
Working for the man every night and day.
But throughout all of the public success, she dealt with the physical and emotional abuse of her husband, Ike.
My life with Ike was one that a lot of maybe people are familiar with, the husbands that practice brutality.
In July of 1976, she would leave Ike with just 36 cents to her name. She spent the next years playing clubs as her solo career failed to take off. But her cover of Al Green's Let's Stay Together in 1983 became a hit, landing her a record deal. The following year, her album Private Dancer would bring her back into the spotlight.
What's love got to do? Got to do with it.
At 45 years old, Turner was a superstar. She would star in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
And I say that this man has broken the law.
Play sold-out stadiums. She would even record a Bond theme. She would find love again, too, with German record executive Erwin Bach, the two together for more than 35 years. So many are reacting to her passing. In New York, the Apollo Theater marquee lit up in her honor. Mariah Carey writing, "To me, she will always be a survivor and an inspiration to women everywhere." When asked how she would like to be remembered in an interview published last month, she said, as the queen of rock and roll, a woman who showed other women that it is okay to strive for success on their own terms. Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
Tina Turner was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once with Ike Turner and then later as a solo performer. Her family says there will be a private funeral attended by close friends and family. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is officially running for president, launching his campaign by posting an announcement video to his Twitter. The governor also took part in a Twitter event with the social media company owner. Elon Musk. However, the servers apparently could not handle the surge in traffic, with some users reporting that the app crashed as they tried to listen to the event. Opponents of DeSantis reveled in the problems. The campaign, however, insisted the technical problems showed how many people were flooding Twitter, eager for his campaign. We'll go to Washington for more on the DeSantis announcement later on Sunrise. A fire damaged several storage units yesterday in Calhoun County. This story brought to us by the Port Lavaca Wave. Port Lavaca and Magnolia Beach firefighters were dispatched to the blaze at Alamo Beach Storage around 9:30 a.m. Firefighters were able to contain the fire quickly. A total of 6 units were damaged. May 24th, a grim day for Texans. It marked 1 year since the Robb Elementary mass shooting in Uvalde. 19 students and 2 teachers were shot to death by a lone gunman, making it the deadliest school shooting in Texas history and the 3rd deadliest in the country, right behind the Sandy Hook Elementary and Virginia Tech shootings. One of the victims, 10-year-old McKenna Lee Alrod, hugged her mom the night before, not realizing it would be one of the last times she'd ever feel her mother's embrace.
She came in to tell me goodnight, and she jumped into the bed and gave me a hug. And gave me a big, wet, sloppy kiss. And I wiped it off my cheek. And she said, "Don't you wipe it off, Mom." She kissed me like 10 more times. Gave me 3 more hugs. I said, "Okay, baby, you need to go to bed because we're going to get up early." So I sent her off to bed. And then I could hear her little feet running down the hallway.
The Uvalde School District has spent over $4 million in security upgrades, some coming from donations and grants, and there are plans to demolish Robb Elementary, with students going to other Uvalde campuses. Some parents are upset that it's led to oversized classrooms, and today the elementary campus still stands with over 200 mass shootings in 2023. We're just about a little less than halfway through the year. It's also sparked a reoccurring debate around guns. In Texas, there is more focus on school safety and less on gun regulations, but one parent who lost a child in the massacre has gone to Austin to testify in support of a bill to raise the age to buy semi-automatic weapons. These interviews were part of a Charlie Minn documentary that 25 News Now helped film. That documentary is set to be released on streaming services sometime later this year. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. The Cuero Development Corporation hosted an economic summit on May 11th, and the Cuero Chamber of Commerce hosted a grand opening for new business. And the Education Foundation awarded scholarships to Cuero High School students. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. The time is now 6:38 on your Thursday morning. Here's a look what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. Lawyers at the Luther Hotel Estate are working to get the case dismissed.
Technical glitches plagued Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign announcement. I'm Lindsay Watts in Washington. What he had to say when it finally got going.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are, headed off into a long holiday weekend. It's going to be Memorial Day pretty soon. And around Texas, we have this little frontal system right here that has a little drier air behind it. And of course, we're in all the humidity. And we've been talking for the past, couple of weeks. The dry line is where the big thunderstorms pop during the afternoon because of the instability and the heating and the lifting there. And then they travel to the east. And so we are watching another day when they start out there and then roll to the southeast, which was basically in our area. Generally speaking, they all stay out there and fall apart once the sun goes down, but every now and then you got to track them carefully because they might get away from us. For those of you in Cuero, you're looking at a morning low of 70, getting up to about 88 this afternoon. And then we take a look at our extended outlook as we get into Memorial Day. Just a slight 20% of a possibility, otherwise sunny and warm, and all the way through Memorial Day with temperatures hovering around 90 degrees. We also have a QR code we want you to scan. If you do that with your phone, you can have crossroadstoday.com on your phone, and we'll be able to send you messages on anything like news, weather, and sports. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mac. Now to the unconventional campaign kicked off by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, delayed by embarrassing glitches. DeSantis announced his bid for the White House live on Twitter alongside Elon Musk, but the audio was plagued with technical issues, crashing repeatedly as more than 500,000 people tried to listen in.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' announcement on Twitter that he's running for president eventually became a discussion on policy and culture war issues.
Common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. And in Florida, we proved it could be done.
DeSantis didn't mention his chief Republican rival, former President Trump, but he took direct shots at President Joe Biden.
Biden's pursued inflationary policies that are hurting working people. We will reverse those policies, and we'll build an economy where working Americans can achieve a good standard of living.
Plans for the announcement were initially derailed by massive technical glitches on Twitter's audio platform. For 21 minutes, the feed included silence and crackling audio. The site's owner, Elon Musk, who was hosting the event, could be heard saying so many people were logged in, Twitter's servers were melting.
I think we've got just a massive number of people online.
Some of DeSantis' opponents were quick to mock the technical difficulties. The Trump campaign labeled the launch Ron's disaster. President Biden tweeted the caption, "This link works," leading people to his fundraising campaign. The Democratic National Committee writing in a statement, "In true Ron DeSantis fashion, his presidential launch was quite literally not ready for prime time." But DeSantis voicing optimism, saying the number of listeners was an example of the enthusiasm around his campaign.
We need the courage to lead and the strength to win.
DeSantis joins a Republican field that trails Trump significantly in the polls, including Senator Tim Scott, who made his first campaign stop yesterday, holding a town hall in Iowa, and Nikki Haley, holding an event in New Hampshire, accusing DeSantis of, quote, copying Trump.
He needs to be his own person. He needs to get out there and say what he believes, what he thinks. If he's just going to be an echo to Trump, people will just vote for Trump.
Meanwhile, the super PAC supporting DeSantis' presidential run is ramping up, hiring dozens of staffers across 18 states. Lindsay Watts, ABC News, Washington.
Leading us to your viewer poll, did you tune into the DeSantis campaign announcement, or rather did you try to tune in onto the announcement on Twitter? Okay, let's take a look. 5% of you said yes, and the rest of you said no. We want to keep hearing from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. You can also scan the QR code on your screen to take part. Lawyers of the Luther Hotel estate are working to get the case dismissed. A hearing to save the hotel was held yesterday in a court overseen by Judge Polly Spencer. Edith Gower and Margaret Dowdy with the Palacios Preservation Association say they feel encouraged after yesterday's hearing and are beyond grateful for the pro bono lawyers' fight to save the historic hotel. The next hearing is set for Tuesday, May 30th at 3:30. Dowdy says the big face-to-face hearing is set for June 22nd at the Matagorda County Courthouse. The time is now just about 6:45 on your Thursday morning. Still to come, we hear from Dr. Stephen Gertzman about COVID-19 post-pandemic status.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are, headed off into a long holiday weekend. It's going to be Memorial Day pretty soon. And around Texas, we have this little frontal system right here that has a little drier air behind it. And of course, we're in all the humidity. And we've been talking for the past, couple of weeks. The dry line is where the big thunderstorms pop during the afternoon because of the instability and the heating and the lifting there. And then they travel to the east. And so we are watching another day when they start out there and then roll to the southeast, which was basically in our area. Generally speaking, they all stay out there and fall apart once the sun goes down, but every now and then you got to track them carefully because they might get away from us. For those of you in Cuero, you're looking at a morning low of 70, getting up to about 88 this afternoon. And then we take a look at our extended outlook as we get into Memorial Day. Just a slight 20% of a possibility, otherwise sunny and warm, and all the way through Memorial Day with temperatures hovering around 90 degrees. We also have a QR code we want you to scan. If you do that with your phone, you can have crossroadstoday.com on your phone, and we'll be able to send you messages on anything like news, weather, and sports. Thanks for joining us.
I'm now joined by Dr. Stephen Gartzman with Victoria ER. He's here to talk to us about COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Gartzman.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Gartzman, so now that the pandemic is officially over, what are some things we need to look out for as far as COVID-19 is concerned this summer?
Well, you're right. The rates are falling, but we still have in this country over 11,000 cases per day, over 150 deaths per day. So still very deadly, although the rates are falling. If you go to the CDC website, you'll see that COVID is still the third leading cause of death in this country today, right after heart disease and cancer. It's number 3. So we can't put our guard down, and the medical community is still trying to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. If you're not, if you are vaccinated, be sure to get a booster, because we want to protect the vulnerable and those who will not be able to fight off this virus. Most people have someone in their family, a loved one that's in a high-risk category, so we want to do everything we can to save some lives this summer and don't put our guard down.
So maybe ahead of those summer travel plans, go ahead and get that first shot, the second shot, the booster, whatever it is you're scheduled for.
Absolutely, and definitely if you're traveling, definitely have a N95 mask with you. And if you're sick, wear a mask so we don't spread our illness around. Infectious disease will never go away, and so we all want to protect those that are vulnerable in our community and try to save some lives this summer.
And I've read that pink eye is a new symptom from one of the latest variations. Have you heard of this symptom?
Oh yes, we're seeing it every day in the emergency department too, as well as COVID every day here in Victoria, although the rates are falling. The latest variant is called the XBB. The original Omicron variant is gone, but the virus is constantly mutating, which is why we need to get vaccinated every year, just like the flu.
And keep washing those hands and don't touch your face.
Definitely hand sanitizer, so very important to keep with us, and especially when we're traveling this summer.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gartzman, for joining us on Sunrise to give us some COVID tips ahead of summer plans.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. A suspect in a carjacking as well as a canine dog were killed after a vehicle pursuit ended in a crash and an exchange of gunfire in King County, Illinois, Wednesday. Police said officers were alerted to a carjacking in Aurora just before 2 p.m. Deputies with the King County Sheriff's Office located the vehicle and attempted to initiate a traffic stop. However, police said the driver refused and the officers then initiated a vehicular pursuit. King County Sheriff Ron Haynes said the chase came to an end when the suspect apparently exited the vehicle and displayed a handgun. Police say a canine dog named Hudson was deployed at this time and bit the suspect, at which time police say there was an exchange of gunfire, striking both the canine and the suspect. Both the canine and the suspect were rushed to local hospitals where they later died. Residents were asked to avoid the area as police investigated. An LA bus driver is fighting for his life after being stabbed multiple times on Wednesday. LAPD says the call was received at 5:15 p.m. They say the driver was at a bus stop when he was approached by a man who got on the bus. They got into some sort of altercation and the attacker then pulled out a knife and stabbed the bus driver multiple times in the front and back of the chest. The driver was then taken to a nearby hospital where he is said to be in critical condition, and that suspect is still at large and is described as a 6-foot-tall man, approximately 21 years of age with blonde hair. It's unclear what led up to the argument. An investigation is pending. House Oversight Chairman James Comer and FBI Director Christopher Wray are set to meet soon. This comes as the Kentucky Republican continues to escalate his investigation into President Joe Biden's business dealings. Comer previously threatened to hold Wray in contempt of Congress if the agency refuses to comply with a subpoena for an internal document. A letter Comer sent Wray on Wednesday says a whistleblower claims that the document shows then Vice President Biden was involved in a criminal scheme with a foreign national. The White House has previously slammed the unverified claim against Biden, calling it another one of the Republicans' unfounded, politically motivated attacks. The bridge at FM 1686 at Lone Tree Creek will close for construction in June. That's in Victoria County. TxDOT is beginning a new project to replace the existing bridge, and it's expected to take about 7 months. Drivers are urged to seek alternate routes. FM 1686 at Draw is also part of the road closures in June. Due to that bridge replacement, that roadway is expected to close for 1 week. BC is looking to start building its new Student Success Center. The county voters in May elected to approve the $10 million bond, providing partial funding for the construction of the center. The 3-story expansion and renovation of the existing Student Center will provide students with more resources in one campus location. And the Victoria College president, Dr. Jennifer Kent, told us when they expect to start building the Student Success Center.
Well, we've been planning this project for several years, so we've already been working with architects and on documents, design documents, and now construction documents. And we're nearing 100% completion of those construction documents, so we are planning for a groundbreaking this fall.
Victoria College leaders expect to complete the project by 2025. That's when VC will be celebrating its 100th year anniversary. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave this week. Jason January will serve 62 years in prison after his probation on sex crimes against children was revoked. Law enforcement made 21 weekly arrests, and Calhoun and Hope High Schools have their graduations at Sand Crab Stadium this week. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Join us Monday, June 5th for Storm Prep 2023 at 6:30 p.m. It airs right here on KAVU TV. We hear from Clayton Holmes and how to prepare for when the storm hits. We hope that you'll join us. And we want to invite you to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and on your cell phone. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. Now let's go ahead and look at our viewer poll one more time. We want to know, did you happen to tune in to that Twitter announcement by Ron DeSantis announcing his bid for the presidential race? Okay, let's take a look. 4% of you, that's less than all of the half hours combined, say yes. And 96% of you say no, you did not. All right, and now let's get a final look at our forecast with First Warn Storm Chief. All right, actually, instead of our forecast, we will wish y'all a wonderful last day of school. From what I understand, it is the last day of school for the Victoria ISD, so it must be the last day of school for some of the other area school districts. We want to wish y'all a happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us. Come to crossroadstoday.com for more local news, weather, and sports, and you can join James, Don, Maclovio, Karina, and Gino today for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10. Make it a fantastic Thursday. Don't forget the bug spray and the sunblock.